Wes, and it's time to talk about the new Zhiyun Smooth Q2. Look at this cute little guy. Let's hit the B-roll. The Smooth Q2 is the new evolution of the original Smooth Q. The Smooth Q was the original value proposition, easy to use smartphone gimbal from Zhiyun. Things have gotten a whole lot smaller, but honestly, that's the way the market's going, so it's not a huge surprise. The new Q2 is a little bit more pocketable. It actually fits in my back pocket without falling out. That's super convenient. And it folds up really nice. It doesn't fold up quite as much as its direct competition, the DJI Osmo Mobile 3, but it's pretty close. So first of all, we want to talk about the build quality, and oh boy, that is the big difference between the Q2 and the original Q1. This guy is metal, surrounded by grippy rubber, which was my biggest complaint about the original one, was super slippery, cheap plastic. It feels great in the hand and it is solid. It even appears to be better built than the Osmo 3, which is interesting because traditionally DJI was the big name brand. And they're obviously going a little bit further down market on this one. Whereas Zhiyun went for something very high quality with very nice fit and finish. Can you tell I'm surprised? I'm surprised. That's easy to say. The build quality on this, as far as smartphone gimbals go, it's a 10 out of 10. Boom. Feature set. And because this is a smartphone gimbal, we're gonna have to get out there, get some footage, so I'm gonna hand it over to Vlog Wes to talk a little bit about the features. One of the main features of the new Smooth Q2 is honestly its compact size. It does pretty much all the same things that it used to do, some things even better, in a smaller form factor. Now, one might argue that the DJI is actually even smaller because it folds up. So, it's kind of not a win in that circumstance. It's a win versus the previous Q, but not necessarily against the competition. Another tough sell is, well, the sell, that the price points are so similar that it's not exactly the budget option anymore. Thankfully, we do get some updated interface options with the new Q2. We have 4 LEDs on the front of it that actually tell you what mode you're in. Which modes are those? Well, you have pan follow, you have locking, you have follow mode, POV mode, and the ever-beloved vortex mode. And yes, that was sarcastic. I don't really know who's going to use that mode. And using the LEDs, you can actually see what you're doing, unlike the previous version. So that's great. Plus, you have the record button on there, which very quickly and very easily integrates through Bluetooth to your phone. So there is the Zhiyun app that you can use, but because we don't have very many advanced buttons and features on this device, it's not really all that necessary. The record button works great in the stock camera app, and so honestly, you might as well just use that, save some battery life, make things a little bit more straightforward for yourself. Thanks, Vlog Wes, you look cold. I know that because you're me, but anyway. So this guy with all those features also has 17-hour battery life in lab tests. You'll probably get closer to 10 to 13 hours. That's still way more than it needs to be. And it's actually a standardized replaceable battery, which is kind of shocking in this day and age with everything moving to proprietary batteries. And we also have this neat little feature of arguable usefulness where you can unclip your phone from the gimbal itself and leave the bracket on your phone. As I said, I find this to be of arguable usefulness because, well, it's a pretty chunky thing to leave on your phone. This is so easy to use to begin with. Getting your phone in and calibrated is not a chore at all. It only takes a second. You just jam it in there, you turn it on, and it works. So I applaud them for trying to figure out a new innovative way of getting things in, but this just isn't as clumsy as these old ones were, so it's kind of unnecessary. It's easy to get in and get started anyway. Now, this isn't like the Smooth 4. As I said before, this is designed to be a streamlined experience, as compact as possible, so it doesn't have all these features. I don't want to say it's a low bar, but it's a different intent. The one feature I'm really missing that was on the Smooth 4, and obviously not on the original Smooth Q, was the lock mode. You can press this button and immediately move it around as quickly as you want to reposition it. That wouldn't be quite as necessary if you could reposition the phone yourself, but you can't. You have to use the joystick to do it. Because sometimes you just want to reposition it and go on about your business. And lastly, we've got USB-C charging. Great. And you can charge your phone from it. I'm not sure a lot of people would do that, but it is a possibility. So, there you have it. Feature set. It's solid, doesn't have everything imaginable. It's an 8 out of 10. Moving right along to the interface, how we interact with this. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not including the Zhiyun app in this assessment. It's going to be lower marks if I did, because there is really no reason to use their app to get this to work. The only way that this interacts with the smartphone is the record button. And guess what? When you pair it over Bluetooth, it happens just like that, easy as pie, no problem, and then the record button works. So that's great. Unlike the Smooth 4, where you have a lot of advanced functions and features, we've got zoom and a bunch of other stuff going on here. This doesn't really need that. So don't use the app. It's a bit buggy, it's a bit of a battery hog, it's a little hard to use. Just use the default camera app and this is going to work great. And that's fantastic, no more confusion. You can go forward with a single click of the joystick or backward by double clicking it. I love that. They've simplified things without ruining the user experience. That's a hard thing to do. Congratulations. Thank you. User interface, it's a 10 out of 10. Doesn't get much easier than this. Stabilization. I didn't want to have to do it, but here we go. In most situations, this stabilizes. It's solid. It actually has upgraded motors. Even though the joints are smaller on this guy, they're actually more powerful than the old ones. But now that we've entered the era of wide-angle smartphone lenses, we have a little bit more of an issue. If I engage the wide-angle lens, all of a sudden, I can see this joint in my picture. Now, some have said, all you need to do is lean this guy forward, and then you can get the joint out of the picture. That's fine and good. But once you do that, it can start getting a little bit jumpy. It's no longer super good at stabilizing. When you're moving it around, it becomes uncertain, because this isn't designed to balance in that direction. Its algorithms are designed for this orientation. Now the Osmo 3, this joint is a little bit lower. I think it would still appear in my wide angle. This is a very wide angle on the 11 Pro. But if I go down to the standard lens, you can no longer see the joint. It's balanced fine, it's working great. So just be aware of that. Your ultra wide, you might run into some problems with. Now, those jiggly niggly problems, they aren't just when you lean it forward. From time to time, when you move the joystick, the camera gives a little wiggle, which honestly, because you can't really reposition this yourself, it only sometimes lets you do it. You kind of have to use the joystick. But every time you use the joystick, it shakes the frame. That's a huge failing in my opinion. If you just go to straight follow mode, you don't really need to use the joystick anymore. But again, it becomes hard to manually reposition. So that is a huge issue that I have with this stabilizer. It's not always 100% stable. Now, when it's being used in ideal conditions, when you're not encountering those fringe conditions, yes, it does work great as a stabilizer. It has strong motors. It can fight, it can move however it needs to and keep things rock solid. But it's not 100% perfect. I hope that eventually they'll be able to fix these issues with a firmware update. I don't know, time will tell. And then finally, I've found that from time to time when you're using this for longer periods, your horizon is going to lose alignment, almost guaranteed. I think that might be a function inherent with the fact that this is a smaller gimbal. There is a lot less clearance space on this little guy than there was on the big ones. And so it's kind of fighting to not bump against itself a lot of the time, and sometimes it does bump against itself and knocks it out of alignment. Thankfully, it is super easy to recalibrate. You hold the button down for a little while, it releases, then you hold the joystick down again, bounces right back up. Again, user interface, phenomenal, super easy. So you can get this back working again in no time. But I have to say, stabilization, I can only give it a 7 out of 10. It's too often that I ran into circumstances where it kind of failed me. Value. This is where Zhiyun used to just take the cake. They would grab that ball and run home with it because nobody else could compete with them. But as I said before, this thing here, on the outside, seems a whole lot nicer than the Osmo 3. They went up market. This thing is lovely. It's just beautiful. You got chamfered edges and shiny metal. But anyway, let's get into some prices. This guy comes in at $140. And for that, when you order it from Per Gear, they throw in this little foot. Now, this tripod foot isn't super necessary, but I have a reason for mentioning it. Because its direct competitor, the Osmo Mobile, is 120 bucks. But if you order the package on B&H that includes the tiny tripod foot, it's the same price, 140. That doesn't seem like a great deal to me. I'm sure that's not a $20 tripod foot. If you're not just delicately setting it on the table as I did, you're going to want to put the tripod foot on this. You don't want to knock your phone and the gimbal over. So yes, that's a great thing to have, and I'm glad that Per Gear throw that in. But at the same time, it's really nice that it's just great at standing on its own. It has a nice flat bottom on it, as they always should. These ones, they're not nearly as good at not falling over. What else do we have? Well, we also have the original Smooth Q. You can get that for 100 bucks now. The Smooth 4, 120. It's actually less than this guy. It's got more features, but oh boy is it bulky. And now that the market has changed a little bit, we have new upstarts coming up from the bottom of the market. You have the company Hohem with their iSteady Mobile Plus for 90 bucks. And believe it or not, it has better reviews on Amazon than this thing does. Now, I don't want to put all my trust in that because often companies will buy their reviews on Amazon, so take that with a grain of salt. But it appears to be a decent product. So you can get a reasonably small smartphone gimbal for less than this. And even its direct competitor that does just as well, and in some ways even better, the Osmo Mobile 3 costs less than this, generally speaking. So this isn't a great value anymore. This has suddenly become the nice product, the first-party manufacturer. And that's fine. This is a really nice product, and I fully expect a firmware update to come for it to make it work a little bit better. But as of right now, the value, it's a 4 out of 10. It's kind of one of your most expensive options in this cool little compact mobile space. So it's a little shame that couldn't be just a little bit cheaper. Well, fine. You want it to cost less? We'll have it cost less. Who are you? Oh, I'm Sale Wes. Yeah, I'm just here to tell you about sales. Yeah, don't worry about it. From November 13th to the 18th, Per Gear on their own website is going to be having a sale. And this little guy right here will be 10% off. You don't see stuff like this go on sale an awful lot, at least not when it's new. And we'll also have Zhiyun, Godox, Moza, and Aperture products all on sale on Per Gear's website. I got a link down below that'll let you know more about that. And when the sale goes live, which it might already be when this video goes up, you know what? You might have already missed out if you didn't see this video soon enough. And if you click on that link and buy something down there, I don't get anything. So that's fine. This is all about you saving you some money for something that you might already need, might already want. Thanks. So, back to you, Boring Wes. Hey. Anyway, now that he's gone, let's wrap this up. What do we have overall? Our overall score is 39 out of 50. Honestly, it's not as high as I thought it would be. It has a few more rough edges than I thought it would, especially after viewing the product itself that has such sharp and cleanly cut edges. So you want something beautiful? This is it. If you want something easily pocketable, you have options. But we're now entering a new time, a new space, when Zhiyun is no longer the low-priced upstart. They're now making products that try to compete right at the top of the market. So unfortunately, and fortunately, you get nice things, but that also raises the bar. When your price goes up, you have to do even better to compete. And this isn't a no-brainer anymore. It's not, hey, this costs less, gives you all the same stuff. Let's get it. They have to do more. They have to be better. So this one's a toss-up. If you like this, it's for you. If you don't, it's not. No big deal. Got links down in the description to buy this from Per Gear. So if you want to pick one up, feel free to use my links to support this channel and feed my family. If not, no big deal. Hey. Oh, my camera shut down. So, until next time, I'm still going to use this, and I'm still going to go take some photos.